Hey there and welcome to my channel. My name is Rocco and over here I do Daz3D tutorial videos to help you to get the most out of your own renders. In this new beginner series video we're going to be taking a look at the parameters tab that we can see down here and selected, and the options that we've got for moving and manipulating things and objects in 3D space. We have over here in the viewport our model in a blank scene, and as you can see in the parameters tab everything is completely blank and completely empty because we have nothing in scene selected. To rectify that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to come up to where we say model. This is a little group I've created, open that up and then just select our model in scene, and as you can see the parameters tab opens up and we get to see all these little goodies that we can play around with. And so what do we have here then in the parameters tab? Well, down on this little section here, we can see that we've got a whole load of these little menu header options. And you can see that I've got the general tab expanded out, which then breaks down into a whole bunch of other options inside. The general tab is effectively a container tab, and underneath is all the little things that are contained in that tab. So for instance, if we were to give transforms a click, you can see that in the transforms tab that we've got all of these slider options here: translate, rotate and scale, which you can see also in the general tab as it collates them all together underneath. And likewise, if we were to expand out the transform tab by double clicking it, you can see again that we've got translation, which only has those translate sliders, rotation and scale. So it's a little hierarchy thing like you see a lot of the time in Daz, where what's at the bottom is contained in a container, in this case the transforms, which itself is then contained in a further header above it, which is general. So if we want to play around with the transforms, the translations, we can either do it with the general tab selected, with the transforms selected, or delving right the way down into the translation group, as you can see there. Now the main purpose of the parameters tab is to move and manipulate objects that we've got selected in scene. You'll notice that over here we have a variety of the sliders available to us. At the moment I've got the translation tab selected, and with our model selected up in the top, if we were to move the X translate tab, you can see that our model will move left and right in the window, in the viewport. I'll just come up and just reset a position by using this undo button up here, and likewise if we were to do the Y translate, she would go up and down, and finally with the Z she would go in and out of the scene, as you can see. If we were then to come down to the rotation selection on the parameters tab, she will rotate backwards and forwards with the X rotate. She will go roundabout on the spot with the Y rotate, and with the Z rotate she'll go to her left and her right, as you can see. And finally we have the scale translation sliders. Now in the scale sliders we've got this overall slider at the top, which will scale her in all dimensions that in one go. This is useful if you want to get a proportional height. You know, if you want to change the height, let's say you want to make a 5'2", she will scale proportionately in just by using that one slider. Alternatively, you can use the individual sliders why you would want to, because things get a bit freaky at times, but you can do it. That's probably more for using the scale on objects in scene, like a chair or a bed or something like that. I wouldn't really use it against on the models that you've got, unless you want to get something freaky just like that. However, if you do want to move your model or scale the size of your model, you want to keep her in proportion and use the override and the top scales, the top slider at the top there, just call scale rather than the X, Y's and Z's. Now, if you would prefer a more graphically hands-on approach to moving things around in 3D space, we can come up to our menu options, which we've got up here at the top of my screen. Yours might be in a different place depending on the UI layout that you've got, but you want to be looking at these three icons that we've got up here. This is the translation tool, this is the rotation tool, and this is the combined rotation translation tool, which we'll have a look at in a minute. If we click on the translation tool, it'll highlight up there. You will see this little gadget, this little gizmo will appear in scene on the object that we have selected, so in this case on our model. And you can see the blue line, the red line and the green line. If we just flip over onto translate on our parameters tab for a moment, you'll see that the blue line correlates to the Z translate, the red to the X and the green to the Y translate. So if we were to come down to the end of the blue line there, the little triangle bit at the end, it'll highlight, and when we click our mouse button, we were able to move our object in 3D space. Likewise, if we were to come to the red selector, give it a click, hold our mouse, we can go left and right. And if we go to the green, we're able to go up and down, as you can see. You'll also notice that in between the blue and the reds, there's these little white triangles on the corners. These allow us to move in two axes at the same time. So if we click on that little triangle there, we can both go in the Z axis and the X axis at the same time and move our model around. Likewise, we can go between green and red, that's the Y and the X axis, and we can go up and down, left and right at the same time. Or we can go along the Z and the Y axis at the same time, back and forwards and up and down, as you can see. Now, if we were to move along to the next icon up there, this is the rotation gadget. Give it a click, and then we get this funky little three-dimensional sphere made up of these three axis lines. Again, if we were to move across to the rotation tab and the parameters, we can see that the red correlates to the X rotate, the blue, the Z rotate, and the green, the Y rotate. So again, if we select the green, we can rotate our model around as such. Likewise, back and forwards on the X rotate, and left and right or along the Z axis if we move the blue. Oh, there was one separate control there that I forgot, which is the one next to the translation, which is the scale. Again, you shouldn't really be using the scale with models because funny things like that happens, but it is up there just next to the Panem one also. And finally, with the movement tools, we've got this one here, which is the universal tool, which what this does, it combines the three that we've just looked at, the translate tool, the rotation tool and the scaling tool, into one gadget, one gizmo with everything contained within it. Now, the final way that we can move things around in the 3D space is just putting the numbers in directly. So if we come up to translation, you can see we've got some numbers in there. If we just clicked on the number, you can see that we can also just type in various numbers and things will move around in the scene themselves. Just type the number in and the model will move. If you want to reset it, put them all back down to 0 and the model will be reset in the center of the scene, as you can see, like that. Same works with rotation and scale. Just click the number and just type in the number that you want. So that then is moving in 3D space by using both the parameters tab, the translation, the rotation and the scale morph sliders that we see over here, but also using the controls within the viewport, as you can see here at the model's feet. There's one thing you need to be aware of, and that is what we've been doing there is we've been moving around the model herself. However, if we were to click on a body part of our model, let's just say the left forearm there, we can see that the gadget itself, the gizmo within the viewport, moves up to where her arm is. But if we come down onto the rotation slider, we can see we have a change in sliders there, twist and bend rather than the X and the Y and the Z rotations. And what this allows us to do is to move the individual body parts, which will help us in posing our model by just moving them around very slightly so that we can do the things that we want to do with them. Now, we're going to be getting into posing in another video. We're not really going to be touching it here, but it's just something to be aware of, that if you are flicking around and you do flick on a body part of the model, that the rotation tabs and the rotation morph sliders that you see here will actually change and allow you to move the body parts, as you can see there. And that is how we move things around in 3D space within Daz3D. Hopefully you've got something out of this video. If so, give us a like down below, as I'll really appreciate that, and it will really help out the video in the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing by hitting the little button down below and the little notification bell. And also, if you've got any questions, whether it's about this video, about Daz in general, or you just want to have a chat, drop them down in the comments below and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye now.